Well, hey guys, I am here with my good friend Jeff Christian, who is with Compass Christian Church. It's a mega church in Chandler, and they're a multi-site church. Jeff is in charge of marketing and branding for the church, and he and I have gone back a ways, and he's kind of cut from the same cloth as I am. He's a former communication director. He does a lot of direction communications for Compass, but I wanted to bring him online here today to talk about some stuff that Compass is doing. So, hey, Jeff, glad to have you here today.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're in this season of COVID-19, and we know this is probably going to change the future of the church. Mm-hmm. So what have you guys done recently to kind of switch to be online? And then anything unique that you guys are doing?
Yeah, for us, it's been interesting. Like it's like, the least thing, not the most appropriate word. It's been crazy. It's been interesting. It's been, whatever, but has been for us because we have always had a digital presence, a really, fairly strong online presence. Our services, which most everyone is focusing on, they've always been online, but in a real passive sense, I would call it. We haven't tried to have a real online, we haven't considered what we do online an online campus like a lot of large churches do, but still every service, we have 5 services on the weekend at our campus in Chandler. And then we have another campus about 30 minutes away from here in Casa Grande, and they have a couple of services, but we don't broadcast those live. But so they just been passively put on Facebook as live, and more recently as YouTube. But my team has been the one that's very passively kind of shepherded that a little bit. I mean, kind of paid attention to it on the weekends and certainly made sure that the stream was running, but pastored it in a very, very low level sense. Yeah. Answered questions and things, but they didn't come up very much. And our viewership wasn't really, really high. And so we kind of had a little bit of a groundwork laid for shifting to online church. So just about one weekend after the first weekend that this happened, so we engaged with a kind of online church, a digital church as we're calling it, a digital church consultant. We'd had ironically or interestingly enough, maybe it's providential, from the Lord, one meeting with this guy about 2 weeks before all of this hit, because we've known that our audience over a week's time, not necessarily live in the moment, but all the views of our services is really getting pretty high. We thought we would steward that well. Yeah. And so that helped us lay the groundwork in talking to this consultant. And so we quickly, by week 2, put in place a digital church team. We got some real structure to how we were going to approach this in terms of the online engagement with our church and guests and newcomers and things like that. And I can go into more detail on that, but it's been really, really helpful, productive, spot on, we feel like, with kind of what we need to do. We now have, to give a little bit of a picture, we have, for the different platforms that we kind of push out to now, which we're doing, Facebook, YouTube. We have it on an online church page on our website, but then we are also trying to cultivate an Instagram audience through Instagram Live and some things like that. Okay. And so we have platform pastors. So what we did was we said, okay, for our staff, we pulled from all different departments. And we honestly, we literally looked down our list and said, okay, which people from our staff have already a little bit of social media savvy to them, who has built up their audience, who just really gets this for what we're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And so we added that to their job title. I mean, everyone now becomes a social media, kind of coordinator in a sense, of course. So we have platform pastors. But then we went out to our church, and we had each of those platform pastors recruit anywhere from about 5 to 20 people that serve in some kind of volunteer capacity at our services on the weekends on a rotating basis, a lot like you would, in your service with greeters or whatever. So we have online hosts and online greeters, and try to put some real structure to it. And so that's what's been really, really successful for us. And we've seen our numbers, our metrics and analytics really change in a great way through this. So that's been the biggest shift that we have made, is we have tried to lean into digital church, again, as we call it,
Mm-hmm.
as heavily as we can. So that's been huge and been really good.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Now that really the front door of the church is the website, and you're doing things to have that, I guess, that first experience be a really positive experience using your volunteers, which is phenomenal. What are some of the things you're doing to actually drive more traffic to your website?
Yeah. Well, the one thing that has changed has really been, we're kind of primarily using social media still. I mean, because we've considered, we put everything on the table when it comes to marketing. We said, should we do direct mail? Someone even threw out at one point, do we do a billboard pushing people there? Do we, we put everything on the table, but we still just went back to, it's best to engage them online. It's best for them to go from one online experience being social media, one click away is the website. So we just put all of our efforts there. And what we really changed though about that has been the amount of posts that we're making. It just really kind of, doubled, maybe tripled. And the variety of what we're putting out there, has changed. And so to really answer your question though, social media has been the key way that we push people over to our website and try to engage with them.
Okay, cool. So, when we come out of COVID-19, which is kind of a loose and weird term, because I don't know if we'll ever come out of it. I suppose, someday that maybe it'll be in the rearview mirror, but it'll definitely be a new day for how we do church. So what do you think when we come out of this, what will Compass be better at, or what do you expect?
Yeah, for us, I think two things. Number one, we've gone through a rapid process of putting together digital church, an online campus. And so that will stick without a doubt. I mean, we were headed that direction. It's just that what may have taken us, kind of a full quarter, 3 to 4 months to put together and to really launch, we did it honestly in days. I mean, literally in 3 days time, 4 days time. I mean, from the first weekend that we were all, everything went online to about the second weekend, we had our digital church team and whatnot put in place. That will stick without a doubt. And so, but in addition to that, I think it's the way that we've leaned into social media so well and tried to provide, kind of a wide variety of content that will stick, in addition, because so my team, when it comes to brand and marketing, for the size of our church, we're kind of average to maybe a little bit small. We could use almost one more person, but so we've not had a role that is a full-time social media coordinator or manager. It's someone wears that hat, but it's a dual role. And so out of I would see us probably really making that kind of a full-time role because they see it takes that. And so the wide variety of content that we, have begun to produce, I think that'll continue, but it takes time and it's hard once we get back to whatever normal looks like, maybe weeks or months from now. We can't just go back to the way things used to be. And so I think that'll be one shift that we made. And so for us, I mean, the change has been a lot more a lot more video pieces that are online, a lot more things like articles and interviews and stories and things that are far more engaging. But honestly, we've always known, a lot of it's with Missional Marketing's help and guidance over the last, kind of few years. We know what really engages. It just takes a little bit extra time to produce that. And so we've absolutely made that a priority and been able to do that. And so we've seen all of that kind of just good advice be put into play and result in, positive things for us and for the church that we definitely know have got to stick moving forward. So that's one of the things, especially from our perspective, that we see changing in a positive way, from now on.
Yeah. And you and I both know this, and this is kind of why we exist, is we're always trying to connect unchurched people to a church. And so from the comfort and safety of their own home, they can engage with all of your content now that you're putting that content online, which to me, I think that's pretty exciting. I know you think that's exciting as well, because now the church can go to the people truly that are curious, and they may never enter the doors of a church, but now they can enter the digital door of the church. Right. It'd be exposed to all that the church has to offer. That's kind of exciting for us.
For us, one thing that we always want to to communicate to newcomers, to outsiders, to people that are far from God and just don't even feel like they don't even want to consider that.
Yeah.
We want them to know that the church is relevant to their lives. And so one thing that we, from the minute this hit, one thing that we did was we put in place, we want them to know it's relevant because we are here to share the love of Jesus right now by just helping people. And that's a really broad kind of, statement, but we mean it as broad as that sounds. So we quickly put in place what we just call a give help
Yeah.
initiative, set up a web page. And so basically for people to come and interact with us with whatever their needs is. And we've been able to tell the positive stories that have come from that, to try to, again, stay relevant, try to show people that why the church really matters in a day and age like this, in a situation like this. And so we try to, kind of put things out there that give hope and encouragement, because so many people need that, but also just showed how the church is really being the church right now in the midst of this situation. And so that's been one of the main, kind of a main focus for us right now.
Yeah. And my next question, you probably answered it, but what do you think, in your opinion, what is Compass really great at doing?
Well, whenever we met, kind of on campus, one of the things that Compass, I feel like over the years, being at a few churches now, that does really well, better than I think any church that I've been a part of, man, they're great at just connecting with people. That family feel that you want a church to have, Compass really has it. And it's unique because it has that kind of the same feel that smaller churches, have, but we're a large church. I mean, we're a church of, kind of between 3,000 and 4,000 people on a weekend. Wow. And it still maintains that. And there's some really unique reasons. I won't even go into it. How part of it's our physical space is kind of tight. We're building a new worship center, but it's really tight. So you're forced to rub shoulders with people almost literally and see each other. So they have developed a environment that does that really well. I always say a lot of that trickles in the personality of the pastor is mirrored in the personality of the church. And that's absolutely true here. And so our pastor is very much that way. Brian Job is his name. He's very warm, very, very one to connect with members. I mean, one-on-one as much as possible. And so that's been what we've done well. It's been a radical shift, though, to move all of that online because you can't physically connect with people the same. And so, but nonetheless, that's what that's the one thing that's really atypical about us that stands out to me.
So what is something on the flip side of that? What is something you guys feel like you need to work on?
Well, for Compass is a church that has been, the way I'd say is they've been really blessed for quite a number of years, so 20 years or more, to be in a positive financial position where they haven't had to, just to really kind of state it really plainly, they haven't had to worry a lot about money and financial needs the way that many churches do. Not to say that they don't exist at all, of course, but they've just had people that have been very faithful givers and tithers. We have a church that's a wide range of ages, which is really awesome, really powerful thing. But some of that comes with, comes with that age diversity. And so because of that, though, the downside of that sometimes is you can get I don't want to say lazy because that's really to me a negative term, but you can't ease back into this comfortable space and not want to change much. You don't want to rock the boat much if you feel like you're in a good space. And so that's where it's like, I feel like we've been a little bit slow to change. That's not, like I said, one positive thing has been that we have fast tracked having an online campus, going towards a digital church. Yeah. And that's really great because otherwise, like I said, it would have taken us months or a whole year. We've certainly been talking about it for nearly a year now. And so that's the weak thing is you can get we've been a church that's been really comfortable and being who we are because it's been positive in so many ways, but that's still, it can be a negative. And so that's really there with Compass a little bit, but growing out of it and fast.
So you guys with this they're building a new worship center, which is going to be amazing and very, very exciting. A lot of changes happening on campus when you can get back together. But what do you think is going to be one of the biggest challenges over the next decade? Maybe not even for Compass, but maybe also for the church in general.
Right. Yeah, and I think of it too in terms of the broadest sense, like the big C church, as we say. And I do think one of the biggest challenges is going to be this kind of a shift into everything is moving online. Everything is digital. The situation we're going through now because of coronavirus has pushed everyone that way. I mean, so many people very rapidly shifted to working from home.
Right.
And, that kind of thing. Even like in my household, it's like all of a sudden it's like I'm working from home. I've always been pretty mobile and portable. That's not a big deal. But my wife, she wasn't in a situation where it's real easy for her to begin working from home, but she is now in her company or all the equipment, everything she needs to do everything from home. Of course, we have kids. Our kids are in online school. So, the corporate workplace, schools, certainly church, everybody's moved to, online. So really rapidly, we've shifted even faster than we ever would have otherwise into this online digital culture. And so I feel like that the challenge for churches is going to be how to really lean into that space, how to make the most of that space and that opportunity. Because what I've seen in different just online groups I'm a part of, and as I've seen conversations go back and forth, number one, it's just been a reminder to me that I've been blessed to be at churches that are really great, that tend to be larger, mega churches.
Yeah.
And so they've always been a little technologically savvy and been a lot, but the vast majority of churches are smaller. They aren't out in that digital world for a whole lot of different reasons, but they've all pushed into that. Yeah. So now after this, we kind of get through this. I feel like the challenge for a lot of people is going to be, okay, now we know that, that everyone's out in this digital world. Can we sustain being out there with them? And I kind of think that because everything's shifted online in such a major way now, and from a society standpoint, our society and the people we're trying to reach there's going to be an expectation from them for us to keep up this level that we've developed in this emergency situation. And I think that is going to be our biggest challenge. And so we'll see how we weather it. But I do feel like so many churches, they will stay in this world. They made I've seen so many make a financial investment. They bought the equipment, for instance, that they need to do online church. Right. People that didn't know how to do a live online, service or pre-record, push it out as a live service, they have that knowledge now. And so that's not just going to go by the wayside. At least I hope and pray. But nonetheless, that'll be our biggest challenge. I feel like is managing the expectation of the world around us. But thankfully, there have been a lot of great churches that have traveled this road ahead of us. And so they've laid a good path and some good examples. And there's some really great churches that have the technology that they're making free and available to other churches, which I love it when churches do that, share for the kingdom's sake. And so hopefully all of those things will make it where we really can continue to have the presence that we have had to develop over the last month or so. Yeah.
And I totally agree. It's like having the biggest and best minds in the church world be thinking, because they've had to do this. They've literally focused now online. And so more and more is going to be coming down the pipeline as time goes on. Right. That's going to trickle down. And I kind of look at it years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago, when this new thing called Multisite Church kind of evolved, right? You went from having one campus to maybe 2 or 3. That was unheard of, before that time, but some churches thought, let's do this. And now all of a sudden other churches are taking the same kind of steps. And now you got tons of churches that are multi-campus.
Right.
I think the same thing, it's just going to be a lot faster. It's going to be a lot faster.
Yep. And one thing that's great, I think will let us make this quick change, just like you said, and have it stick, because a lot of times it would leak, it's like, but is that because we have these online forums, online groups that we can be a part of that networks everyone together worldwide. I mean, so that has been, everyone has leaned into that more than ever. And hopefully because they have that resource of almost like free kind of peer-to-peer coaching and consulting, that is what I think will make this a little more sustainable. It makes people in the smallest church of 200 people or even 100 people or a house church that would have known what to do or who to ask, or certainly think we can't afford to bring in somebody, or so they don't need to anymore. There's these great online groups now that you can be a part of, and they will coach you, all the way. It's really awesome. And so I've loved seeing that group, come together at a time when it's needed most.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Man, I appreciate your time and your insights into some of this. And take care, and thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks. Glad to do it. Love you guys. And yep, love what's going on right now in the church world in many ways. It's great.
You bet. All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.